Hey, I can't. Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lambert, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today is another big Kanye tweet day, to put it lightly and mildly. And we're gonna go through his entire 113 pages of contract here. Which let me lower this. Can I lower it to where? Okay, yeah, you can see 113 pages of contract, which is just wild, right? But no, we're not going to go through the entire contract today. A little psych out, but shout out to Danny Deal here for compiling all the pages of this contract into one readable file. I know there's going to be other people that are diving through this over the next few hours and kind of picking apart some of the highlights. So we're going to wait a little bit for that before we go through the contract and what's stated therein. But we are going to go through all of these Kanye tweets that resulted in Kanye getting banned from Twitter. And there, I guess up front, there's a little bit of a complication here. Like you're seeing Anthony Schiller, a longtime Kanye collaborator, saying Kanye got banned from Twitter for speaking out. I feel like he's a longtime Kanye collaborator. I'm saying that, but now I'm just like, do I know that? Wanted me to get the word out, fighting now to get back on. So it's saying he got banned for speaking out, but I think the reason that he got banned, and you're not seeing it in this image, it cuts off right at the bottom with specifically for, and then the next one's just as a result, you're locked out for 12 hours and you can do these steps. He dropped the phone number, like the contact screen for Forbes's Randall Lane, the chief of editorial for Forbes. You may remember Randall's the one that was doing the interviews with Kanye as of late. The first like big presidential interview that Kanye did going over his platform that arguably was problematic just in the fact that it was a 4-hour conversation that was broken up into paragraphs of text that had no context really aside from a header of like Kanye on taxes, Kanye on his party name. But we didn't get any of the context led to the questions. We didn't get to see even the chronological ordering of the thoughts in the conversation, which probably didn't portray the conversation in the best light. Followed them by Kanye West, like, indicates that he's running a spoiler campaign that was also Randall. And Kanye in the Nick Cannon interview is just like, this guy's a white supremacist. Like Forbes is a white supremacist. This guy's like kind of an asshole. And he just released his phone number, which, yeah, you can't really do. Like there were screenshots of Kanye fans already like tweeting or not tweeting, sending text messages to Randall, which is just like, oh my goodness. So that's why Kanye is currently suspended. I know that there's probably going to be some that are saying like he got suspended for speaking out against the music industry, which he was doing a lot of. But I think had he not tweeted Randall's phone number, his account would be fine. But it's one of those things where it's just like in the midst of all the other stuff he was saying, this happens, and now it's going to fuel the idea of like, they're trying to keep him from speaking out, which is good and bad. Like on the one hand, it might ignite some people to be like, they are keeping Kanye down, like look at that, and fuel like kind of the fight. On the other hand, he kind of got hoisted on his own petard, or it's like, what's the other quote, like, oh, look, it's the consequences of my own actions. Like if he just doesn't tweet the Randall tweet, But anyway, let's get into, that's 3 minutes of talking about Kanye being suspended. Let's get into all of these tweets. So last night even, he started tweeting after I had released the one video, which I don't even know where the video ended yesterday, like somewhere up in here. Yeah, right here is where my video yesterday ended. So then Kanye started talking about, here, when I spoke to Katie Jacobs, who's on the board with Vivendi, we decided to create a Y Combinator for the music industry. So artists have the power and transparency to be in control of our future. No more shady contracts, no more lifelong deals. And you can see here, like Y Combinator is responsible. It's started by Paul Graham and a few other people, and just really became Silicon Valley's like go-to for people with ideas that need funding. And they don't only give funding, they also give guidance and support, and it really became maybe the most successful startup accelerator like ever. You can see Stripe, Airbnb, DoorDash, I don't know Cruise Automation, but Instacart, Dropbox, Twitch, and Reddit were all Y Combinators. And a lot of these are like heavy hitters in the technology space. Like Twitch has been transformational in the streaming and personality industry, and in some ways like rivaling YouTube in terms of not the same kind of content, but contents. Dropbox has revolutionized business. Reddit is the place for like news, entertainment. Stripe transformed how we do point of sale systems, like Airbnb. Like, man. So Kanye talked about a Y Combinator for the music industry, which would be fantastic. And then contracts in all industries need to be simplified. Complicated contracts are how businesses, music companies, and sports take advantage of talent. We will expose those contracts and make them transparent, support new talent, startups, and amend all old contracts. And there's going to be people like all through this conversation, there's always going to be people that say, well, you know, the industry is how it is. You can see what these companies do and why they're getting money on the, like, you shouldn't be as rich as the companies. Like, you're still an artist. They're still supporting you. They're taking on the risk. But at the same time, those companies also have their thumbs on the scales, making it harder for any independent entities to reach into the mainstream. Because you look at Universal Music Group or Sony or Warner, any of the large companies, they have all the connections to radio. They have all the connections to stores that sell music, who gets on the front page of Apple and Spotify and all this, because money's involved, right? So if you're an artist and just a young independent artist and you want to get your song played on the radio, how do you go about doing that? Like, the means of having that happen, especially like before streaming services became a thing, before YouTube, before SoundCloud, before TikTok, which is now helping create artists, you still had like very limited means of distribution. So the music industry just dominated, because if you wanted to get your song on the radio, you had to go through one of the big companies. If you wanted to get your CD in a store that wasn't an independent store, you had to go through one of the major companies, because if those stores started carrying your CD, those companies could just say, hey, no, if you carry this person, like this competitor's CD, we're not going to give you anybody else. Like, we will take our product from you and not let you have it. So there's an interesting give and take when it comes to these businesses and how much they control the system, because they've essentially built the system, and how much reward they get at the expense of the artist. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're going through this conversation. This was a group conversation. I don't know Joe Katz or Tom Ara. Anthony Schiller, yeah, okay. That's who was tweeting for Kanye. And then Equan's Kanye's lawyer. And then Katie Jacobs Stanton is the one from Vivendi. And then Kanye just saying, come and get me, with the ski emoji. He's really loving the ski emoji. Y'all not going to play with me or none of my people ever again. In Jesus' name, I want all the smoke, please. I'll talk to Irving Azoff, though. That's my family. You can see here, Irving was from 1983 to 1889, chairman of MCA Music Entertainment. And then it looks like he's also co-produced movies like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Urban Cowboy, Jack Frost, Above the Wind, and The Inkwell. So it just seems like he's been a long time person in the music industry. Oh, somebody said it's essentially Kim's uncle. Yeah, this is basically Kim's uncle. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Breezega. Breezega. Breeze, Georgia? Breezega. We followed each other for so long, and I never know how to say the name out loud. But then he follows that up with like, but he don't work at or for Universal, so you all got to talk to Nat Ye, right? And he's comparing himself to Nat Turner. And then Yeezy Christian Academy, just kind of a poster. You can see the design elements up top, what it would look like. Faith, music, communication, collaboration, creativity. As kind of the founding pillars. Music will be a constant presence. Students will learn how to create and sing. Eternal goal 1000, singing gospel in unison. 21st century communicators. Students will learn to work with each other through projects and experiences. Students will collaborate fluidly despite differences of age, background, etc. Yeah. Okay, nice. Yeezy Christian Academy, we'll see how that progresses. And then it's a good start. You can see here this kind of wall shape and this garden that's going on. So it looks like Kanye is kind of testing out agriculture and maybe something that's a little bit more self-sustaining. hate to do this, but I have to look up Barstool Sports Kanye. This is where I saw the story. Yeah, so this was actually a story that was starting to go around, and it was kind of pissing me off as I get so bright. They say it builds a wall around his house in California, calls himself Moses, and demands an apology for Drake. So how that headline reads makes it just seem like Kanye's on this other manic, crazy episode. Look what this guy's doing while putting like a wall around his premises. But this isn't Kanye's LA home. Like, this is an offshoot of the property. If you look up Kanye House Calabasas, this is his property. Like, that's not getting walled off. Like, not at all. That looks like, actually, can we get a, I thought maybe this down here, that's just somebody else's house. So it's just some like other property, maybe down over here that Kanye has. But yeah, like the domes weren't on Kanye's property either. You can see that the domes were kind of off in this different space, but like Kanye's house looks like this. This is a monstrous house. This is gigantic. And they're like, oh, look, he built this wall. Like, it's not his home. Like, it might be property that he owns, but it's not his home. And it looks like it is indeed for this project. You can see some of the plants and things here. It might be that there's more construction. There's the garden. More construction going on. Maybe they're doing some renovations inside. Maybe he just wants to keep out paparazzi. I don't know. But he hasn't built a giant wall around his house. And the fact that Barstool Sports is referring to an article from The Sun, which is just like grade A garbage, like Barstool is kind of ridiculous for that one. So you have that going on. But then what else do we got? Dream Baby Dream just looks like a mood board for Gap and everything. Some of these underground water areas. A lot of these mood boards that we're seeing are clothes and spaces that are built underwater or like underground that have some open air concepts to them. In the streaming world, master ownership is everything. That is the bulk of the income. In COVID, artists need our masters. It's more important than ever before. I got J. Cole number waiting for Kendrick and Drake. From the earlier tweet where Kanye was saying that he wants to talk with everybody, J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake, etc. But yeah, when you have your masters, whoever has that is who gets payment, because those are essentially the source for the music. So artists typically have to hand over their masters when they sign a record deal. So one of the things, like if Kanye makes a new album, he doesn't just send the digital files over to Universal Music or Def Jam or whoever. They have to get like the masters, the original recordings, and then that way they're the property owner for it. And why Kanye's saying in COVID artists need our masters is because usually artists just get paid from touring and selling merch at tours. So you get a cut of the door and you get a cut of merch. But if you can't tour and you can't sell merch, then you're making, what is it, like 0.0003 cents from every stream on Spotify. Like, meanwhile, like Def Jam, Universal Music Group are making how much per stream? Like a penny, a nickel, like more money than the artist by far, just for having the masters at that point. So then it says Shea Pope got Dave Free's number. We'll have, I don't know, Dave Free. We'll have Kendrick's number shortly. I'll keep you guys updated. He keeps saying that and using like a wink emoji. I guess like because he's framing it as like he's keeping us updated, but he's putting pressure on everybody by like airing this out for everyone. I remember they cut our tongues when we were on the boat, but now slavery is a I can't believe he's having me say that out loud, but he's calling back to 2018 when he was at TMZ, and he started talking about when you hear about slavery for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. We're mentally enslaved. And he was trying to connect the historic aspects of slavery, like that slavery has existed in some form in America from its founding in the 1600s all the way up to today. That's what the 400 years is, right? It's not just that historically, like, slaves chose to be slaves. That's way too one-dimensional of what he was trying to say. Did he say it in the best way? No. But did it mean what people thought that he meant? No. He was definitely trying to talk about where we're at today in terms of being slaves to consumerism, slaves to contracts, slaves to companies, that people don't have power, that you have this ruling class through classism that really like keeps people down and has designed a system to keep people down. So this is what he's talking about when he's saying like is a choice, because we're just choosing to exist in this environment and not really questioning it as much as we should be. I need an army of angels to cover me while I pull this sword out of the stone. I need everyone's prayers. I promise we will be free and own our masters, but we must be faithful to God this time. And no more killing each other, no more threatening to take each other's girls and wives. Let's show the world how great we truly are. We are God's chosen people. Like over music, like in the rap world, there's so much fights, like actual physical violence versus just also like emotional devastation, like trying to take other people's women and wives. Like you think about like the rumors between Tupac and Biggie and what they did to each other, and just yeah, like none of that. We need to get on the same page, like, and show that we can make things happen. Then he said, don't need the Arnon meeting anymore. I'll be meeting with Vincent Ballor. So Arnon is the guy that he was talking about earlier that's higher up at Vivendi. But Vincent Ballor here owns the Ballor Group, and they have a 27% share of Vivendi, which makes them the controlling owners of Vivendi. Dude's worth $5.1 billion. So Kanye definitely wants to talk with him, because, you know, billionaire talk. The artists deserve our own masters. Artists are starving without tours. I'm going to go get our masters. For all artists, pray for me. I don't want to see no woke tweets or hear no woke raps. It's showtime. It's a whole different energy right now. Because it's just like thoughts and prayers, right? You can say like, oh, sending you love, or we support this, but action and like being behind somebody that's taking action is more so what's necessary now, like rallying around the cause rather than just saying a tweet and going back to normal, or writing like a single rap that's just like, fuck the music industry, and then going back to normal and just keep putting out music for the music industry. You can see Prince had the slave word tattooed on his face regarding his contract. Remember, Prince changed his name to get out of his contract. That was one of the ways to get around it. You just change it to a symbol. And then Hi Rob. Rob is the head of Sony Music. He's been the head of Sony Music since 2017. And then he said De La Soul can't even get their music on iTunes, with De La Soul being a hip-hop group from the late 80s and early 90s. And it turns out that they can't get their music on iTunes because they had so many samples. And when they signed the contracts for the rights to the sample, the language was so specific in the contract that it said that the contract or the sample clearance was only good for vinyls and cassettes. So as soon as they moved to CD, suddenly the sample contracts were no longer good. And now that they're on streaming, the sample contracts are no good, which means that De La Soul's discography, or early part of their discography, isn't available because of the specificity of language in a contract that was drawn up 30 years ago, which is incredibly unfortunate for the artists, right? Everybody involved. And he talks about Ben as an ally. He embraced me in Silicon Valley when no one else did. Love you for life. Ben's the author of The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which is a book I've heard of, but I don't know what he's really done with Kanye or for Kanye. And you can see Kanye was on a call during this. Yeah, I don't know that one. Anyway, next thing. Psalm 91:11, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against the stone. That's nice. You will tread on the lion and the cobra. That's also nice. Then we get the dove emoji and just a tree in the backyard, which I think that's that same space we were looking at before. With the garden and the agriculture that's going on. And this might actually be at Kanye's house, and he's just looking off towards the hillside. Reed Hastings, I like this guy. Reed's just the CEO and creator of Netflix, and I think he likes him just because Kanye's a fan of technology, and it does seem like he's trying to make connections in Silicon Valley. Like he's trying to grow and think differently. And Reed Hastings definitely changed things. When Netflix started, like it was incredibly outside of the system of how things were done. The idea of mailing discs to people, especially with how popular Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Family Video were at the time. And then movie theaters and movie companies like Hollywood hated Netflix because they saw the writing on the wall. They saw that people were going to wait for Netflix and not go to the movies as much. They saw that Netflix was going to have the money for original programming. And when that first started happening with shows like House of Cards, there was a lot of pushback there as well. There were movie theaters that refused to screen Netflix's first few movies that they were making. And it's been a battle ever since, but Netflix has managed to not only carve out a territory, but become really like leading the charge in an industry that was so old school. So I can see why Kanye would admire Reed Hastings, you know? I'll let you guys know how this goes. Arnav Vivendi. So it looks like he's getting the meeting with Arnav rather than Balor. So you got the phone number. And then here, what was this? Did I see this? No, I completely missed this. I don't even know what this is. I just want to play the part of someone truly free, Prince. Like a spoken word thing with different artists holding. Interesting. Anybody have any thoughts on it? Kanye is the new Moses in today's social media. Yay, it's my birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Shroom. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. All right. No. Missed that one. And then right here, we have another tweet. I think it's dope, yay, that you're standing up and speaking for what's right. This is a text message that somebody sent him, obviously. This master shit is out of control. The system is broke. It needs fixing. Way overdue. The scripture says, when God is with you, no man can stand against you. Rosa Parks said, never be fearful when what you're standing up for is right. He doesn't have who sent that, but it really sounds like Nick Cannon. Like after listening to Nick Cannon in the interview so much, I'm just like, that's Cannon. That's Cannon. It's got Cannon written all over it. It's just missing like bars. But then here, I think we're just going to go up to like this morning, and I'm going to cut this video and then make a second video about his tweets from this morning. We'll do that. When you sign a music deal, you sign away your rights. Without the masters, you can't do anything with your own music. Someone else controls where it's played and when it's played. Artists have nothing except the fame, touring, and merch, which can get you like wealthy, right? And you can be comfortable and happy with that, but it doesn't get you like, maybe it gets you rich, but not wealthy. I forget which one in that situation's better than the other. Like, is it better to be wealthy or is it better to be rich? Is it better to be rich or is it better to be wealthy? Anyway, like in 2014, Kanye was worth $30 million. At that point, he had produced some of the biggest albums, like for Jay-Z, like Blueprints, Black Album. So he had those production credits. He had the College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, 808s and Heartbreak, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, Cruel Summer, and Yeezus. Those are 8 albums, some of which are acclaimed as some of the greatest of the 21st century, though I would hold that they're all in the consideration for the greatest of the 21st century. But there's some of the biggest albums with like, I mean, Kanye's a huge artist, and at that point, 30 million was his net worth, right? Like, that's great. Like, I know a lot of people watching this, me included, are like, I would love to have $30 million. If you told me I was worth $30 million, I'd be incredibly happy. And while that's true, at the same time, how much money is left on the table? Like, how many hundreds of millions did he make Sony and Universal? Like, how many billions did he make them from his music? While he gets 30 million and has had to scrape and fight for that, because that's not just off the albums, that's off all the touring, that's off all the merchandise, that's off all the endorsements and the deals that he's done. Like, you have to do so much more work beyond just making the albums, and he got $30 million. Then he makes shoes, like make some shoes that people buy, and he sold less shoes than he sold music. Like, he sold way more albums than shoes, and he's $3.3 billion richer for it. So you just think about the difference there. When he owns his shoes and his shoe line, he has $3.3 billion. When he makes albums that are some of the best selling, top selling albums of the 21st century and sell way more than the shoes, but he doesn't own them because of how the music industry is set up, he has $30 million. They give you some money, so you're happy, but they don't let you get wealthy. Yeah. So this is how it be when artists try to get our masters. Their stairs are covered with lotion. These poor people. Japanese game shows are hilarious at what they put people through. And this actually comes from the show King of the Hill in Japan, which is pretty funny. So that was like one of the last things that Kanye left us off with. Okay, this is my final tweet of the day, unless I feel like tweeting again. And it just says, rule number 1, and you scroll down, listen to Ye, which somebody had pointed out, I think it was West Sub Ever pointed out that this might be one of the new studio rules. Like there's that infamous photo from 2010 when they were making My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy of the wall in the studio that had the rules of what you could and couldn't do. I guess just what you couldn't do and what you should be doing. And they wonder if this is one of the current rules. You can see the tape that's on the photo. Rule number 1, listen to Ye. Like this isn't just something that he like photoshopped or found. Like this is actually something that's up on the wall right now. And that's Putin. I didn't even realize because he called himself Baby Putin earlier. I wonder if somebody made a joke like behind the scenes that he's like Putin and that he like controls everything and sees everything and how he's like managing the media. I don't know. But the fact that like it's Putin tripping somebody. God, imagine you're like a black belt martial artist training for all your life. And then Putin walks in the room and is like, I'm going to fight you. And you have to be like, well, I can win because I'm a black belt, or I can like live because if I beat Putin, I will not, I'll find myself falling out of a window. Yeah. That's pretty funny. So that was the last tweet that he sent that night. And then I don't know. Thank you. God bless you. Good night. I definitely saw this. I guess it's just a band playing. What are they playing? Sounds good though. Huh. Okay. So that was the last thing that he left us with. And then in the morning, things started up again. So we'll leave off here in this video and then pick up in part 2, going over all the tweets from this morning. If you're enjoying the channel and you want to support us, the easiest way is liking, subscribing, or commenting, as any of those things tell YouTube this is a channel people enjoy, so then they show it to more people, which helps us. And then we also have our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Kanye podcast, and we release how do I want to say this? We release podcast episodes, but that are line-by-line analyses of Kanye's discography. That's the thing that we're most well known for. We started the podcast in 2015, went all the way through Kanye's discography, and it was available on iTunes, Spotify, wherever. But we recently pulled it and put it all on Patreon and started charging $5. And you got to get paid off of it at some point, you know? It was free for years. But we still are putting up new episodes for free on the public feed. So we're going to be starting our season on graduation on the public feed. But if you want to listen to all of that, as well as the new season on late registration that we are currently recording and putting out, subscribe to the Patreon for just $5. It goes a long way. You're getting, I guess, 50 plus podcast episodes, with more to come, 2 episodes a week as we march back through late registration, graduation, 808s, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I'm going to work on this pitch, and next time it is going to wow you even more, I promise. So until then, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.